Get ready to feel
the power.
That's Colin, Crandall, myself, Adam Roorda, right here with another season of MMA Power Hour. This is the first episode of our 11th season. This is crazy how many episodes we've put in. Our first guest, Andre, actually, Colin, just sent me a wave back, so awesome. Thank you, Andre, for doing that. If you're checking us out, if you're on the Hannibal TV, make sure to hit us up on social media. It is at MMA Power Hour. Our website is currently down, but we'll be bringing that back here soon. And then if you're on our social media checking us out right now, make sure to head on over to the Hannibal TV on YouTube and Facebook. You can search for Great North Wrestling or the Hannibal TV. It should pop up either one. You'll see it. Make sure to like and subscribe, follow, share, comment. And Colin, we've got an amazing show in front of us here, but before we jump into that, I want to let you know that we've got amazing things going on over at Lith Token. Everybody should check it out. It's lithtoken.io. It's LITH token.io. And what we're doing over there is a whole bunch of physical NFTs. So we are putting physical items on the blockchain. We're the only ones that are even allowed to do this the way that we're doing it. It's the only right way to actually connect it as a Web3 piece of property.
Absolutely.
And being able to do that with actual tangible items, it's insane. We actually own the IP to this, and we're doing amazing things over there. And I say we because I am the blockchain architect also. Believe it or not, I am a huge nerd. I know everybody has been calling me a nerd, making fun of me for that here on the Hannibal TV for a while, but I'm proud of it. And if you go on over to Lith Token, you'll see why.
Absolutely. They are the niftiest NFTs and the webbiest Web3 action you will get anywhere. So don't forget it. Right there at lithtoken.io. I support that great project.
This show is brought to you by Lith Token and the Hannibal TV and Cross-Trained MMA Fighter. We've been doing this for how many years now, Colin?
5.5, just about.
5 years with Cross-Trained MMA Fighter, and anything that I touch my hands with is always helping this. And now we've got the Hannibal TV for what, we're 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I think right about 3. I think we've been with them for about 3. Yeah,
3 years off and on. We were doing some stuff with Fight TV. For those of you who don't know, we were on Fight TV, basically their MMA, their primary MMA interview show, if not their only one for the longest time. And we just decided to go back to doing it on our own. We get a good viewership with you guys. You guys are amazing. So,
and partnering with Hannibal TV, that's the on our own, which is just ourselves and Hannibal. And
at this point, that's kind of how we're seeing it. Is well, I consider Hannibal at this point a team member.
He is exactly.
It's night and day difference. You know,
exactly, much better. And we appreciate the treatment from Hannibal, and he's reliable and it's a great channel, the Hannibal TV, Great North Wrestling, great huge podcast out of Canada, 320-some thousand subscribers on YouTube and growing. And he also throws our show up on his Facebook as well.
Yep, and actually I see a lot more viewers on the Facebook right now. It does happen a lot. Facebook seems to have some better algorithms, but love seeing everybody in here across the board and all of our social media and everything. And definitely drop us some chat here, guys. We want to say hi to. Let us know where you're checking in from, watching from. And throughout the show, whenever we have a guest on here, make sure if you want a question asked while we're live with the guest, go ahead and drop us a tip on YouTube, and we'll get a notification, and we'll go ahead and do what we can to ask the question. If it's a little too far out there, we may not, but we will do our best.
Right. Try to be respectful, and then we'll ask the question of the guest. And any of those tips, all those tips are going to go toward helping our show, helping keep this project alive. So we would really appreciate it, whatever you have. And then we'll ask the question to your guest. If you did just want to ask a question to Adam and I, you're welcome to still tip if you want to, but isn't necessary there. And we'll definitely try to fit that in, answering any questions you ask us on the air, directed to Adam or
I accept Lith Token as well.
Yes, we definitely. We accept Lith Token for sure.
Hit me up with a message on my Facebook.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll let you know what my address is for you to send that to if you want to.
Absolutely.
All right, Colin. So what's in store for us today here?
Great show here. Great show. 2 great guests. We're not going to go the full 2 hours, and we're not going to go the 3 guests on this episode, but normally that's what we will be doing. In the past, we've done as much as 5-6 hour shows. We don't do that anymore. And so we respect that we've got a 2 hour block from Hannibal give or take a little bit, and this time we're not going to use the entire amount, but normally we will from 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific time. All of our shows and archives stay up. If you look on YouTube, you'll see a bunch of our stuff up there, but a lot of it was thrown up there. Some of them has a good amount of views, some don't. But if you look on Facebook, not that you're looking for views, but you'll see even more of our stuff on Facebook, both the MMA Power Hour and my page, as well as Adam's page.
A lot of 10, 30, 40, 50,000, 100,000 view videos. And, you know, we're doing it. Not that the views don't matter. We're doing this for the love of the sport. And, you know, I'll tell you this, Colin and I pick better than anybody else out there. So if you are a gambler, we can give you some good insights. Don't necessarily go with our picks. We're not suggesting you go throw money out and lose it. We're not liable for any decision you make there, but we are pretty good at our picks. So.
And we take it seriously. We're not randomly throwing stuff out there. We're really looking into it, and then we're qualifying how sure we are about it. And, you know, and so, yeah, you can get some really good insight and some good underdog picks here. And a lot of great guests of ours have become champions and top contenders, and so check them out.
Of which we've got a champion tonight here.
We do indeed. Looking forward to having Mr. Raufeon Stots come on as the second guest today. He is the new interim bantamweight Bellator champion, and what a great fight he had only about 6 weeks ago. And so it's going to be great talking to him. Our first guest fought only 2.5 weeks ago, and it's going to be great talking to him. So we actually have 2 guests coming off of big wins recently, and we're going to make it a fun and exciting and informative show for you here as well. And we're going to keep the volume up. So there we are, Dr. Adam Roorda. We are still a few minutes early.
I need your, you know, when you do a Skype call, for some reason you always get louder, and you just need to give me that volume the whole way through the show.
You got it. I can do that. So let me know if I get too loud, because in all honesty,
we don't have somebody upstairs stomping on the floor anymore. So.
Yeah, that's right. That was the craziest
I almost
thing.
need the opposite from what we had to do back in the day.
Man. Yeah, totally. No, I can definitely put the volume up. Let me know if I get too high and I'll adjust it. But yeah, we'll keep it up here so you guys can make sure to hear me loud and clear. Great show with 2 guests. And we're only about, I think, 5 minutes away from our first segment, which we normally do start at 6:10 p.m. Pacific time zone. And by the way, these videos, if you catch it in the middle, you can't rewind, as most of you know, if we're live. But when we're done, it stays up there and on Hannibal TV, Facebook, Hannibal TV, YouTube, and then we usually share it to our pages. And then sometimes Hannibal will chop up and release the interview segments separately, which I think he's going to do in the next couple days. Sometimes that's a couple days delay on that, but definitely going to do a couple of really good interviews here. The first guest we've never spoken to before, and our second guest we've spoken to several times over the years. Super grateful to have spoken to him, starting when hardly anyone knew who he was, to now where he is the champion. And we appreciate his good faith, always, you know, jumping on when he has time, when we need him. And just so happy and excited for him. What a talented athlete.
Absolutely, 100%. So, Colin, I'm going to put some music on for these guys for a second. I have to do something. I'm going to mute both you and me for about 30 seconds. Okay?
You got it. And then it looks like any minute we're ready for our guest. Actually, we're getting it.
All right, and we're coming back in, and I just had to turn on a light, and I didn't want you guys hearing everything going on, because we got some sunsetting. You'll see some light changes. You'll see me get up and move around, but yes, we are about ready for our guest here actually right now, so let's go ahead and go into our Skype dance, Colin.
Let's do it. Skype dance, baby. Hey, Andre, can you hear me?
We can hear him.
Excellent. We could there for a minute. Hey, there he is. Andre, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Excellent, brother. All right. All we need you to do is make sure that you're in camera. You won't be able to see us directly, but we're going to have good split screens and focus on you as well throughout the show. We'll show it to you afterwards, but as long as you're in there, you're good. We're already live, so let me give you a proper intro. I always make sure to do this, just like all the best TV shows for the last 100 years. So ladies and gentlemen, happy to have this next guest on the show for the first time. He is UFC middleweight contender in the UFC, coming off 3 wins in a row, all by stoppage. Great win a couple of weeks ago. The man is killing it. And we're talking about Mr. Andre Petroski. Welcome to the show, Andre.
Thanks for having me, guys.
My pleasure. So let's jump right into that last fight. And I'll tell you what, all of our stuff you might not know, but all the stuff for the MMA Power Hour stays up. So you can check. People can check and verify that I'm not talking trash when I say something, because our stuff's up there. And here's what I mean. On that show and on a little breakdown I did with a friend of mine in Australia, we were breaking down the fight before it happened with you and Nick Maximoff. And we basically were looking at it saying, man, both of these guys are very good. Why the hell is Maximov favored by 4-1? And then I started racking my brain, because everyone, media sources, we're always kind of having to spend a lot of time on guys that have a little bit more experience than you, that are in the top 15. So I wasn't as familiar with you as I should have been, but I started looking up your fights and I was like, man, this guy is good. I don't get it. And I was thinking to myself, why are odds makers making Andre Petroski 4-1 dog? And then I looked at your age. You're 30, right in your prime for a middleweight, just starting your prime. This other guy's 24. I'm not going to put down Maximov because he's a tough guy. He had 8 wins as a pro, no losses, 5 wins as an amateur, no losses. But I threw out my pick, and it was you. And I said, I don't know what I'm missing in this big 4-1 odds breakdown, but I said, I really think Andre can win this fight. And you went out there and did it. I was really happy for you, and I was happy for me, because what I was saying turned out to make sense. And now I want to ask you, thank you for listening to all that. Going into that fight, are you a guy that looks at the odds? Are you much of a gambler? Do you care? Did it motivate you one way or the other? And what was your reaction in that fight when you saw that you were a big dog?
Yeah, I mean, I love the scenario, because it's almost like all the pressure's on him and not on me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But for me, I was excited, man. I was happy because I knew we were getting paid, so my people made a lot of money, and I told everyone, man, all week, first round sub, and first round sub was plus 1,400. So
wow. Yeah. That was sick. And I'll tell you what, he's a submission guy out of the Nick Diaz Academy. Let me ask you that. You know your stuff. You're an experienced fighter. But when you see that your opponent is kind of like a sub guy himself, and he's fighting out of the Diaz brothers, and I know you're fighting, you spent a lot of time with Renzo Gracie Fili, so you know your stuff as well. But do you ever look at a guy where he's fighting and say, well, I'm not going to try to submit this guy because he knows his ground game? Obviously you didn't, or did you? What was your thought as far as you really felt confident you could sub him? Was there a reason why, or you just don't care about the other guy and you're just going to do you?
I mean, I wouldn't say that the Diaz brothers have the greatest jiu-jitsu, just to be honest.
Gotcha.
So no, that wasn't discouraged. That didn't discourage me at all. Not to mention that, but I think he's a purple belt.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Does anyone know?
My producer, I think he's looking it up right now. That could be possible. And so if he is, you're what, brown or black?
Yeah, I'm a brown belt. And like literally I go to class like in the morning and I'll literally have 5 rolls in a row with black belts.
Nice.
Like, so where I stand up, like, you know what I mean? That's, I get to roll with a purple belt now? Like, come on now. What are we even talking about?
Right. Yeah, it looked that way. It looked like you were just super comfortable. And I think that you finished that off with, was it Darce choke or Anaconda choke?
Yeah, Anaconda.
Yeah, I love that choke. Speaking about purple belts, I'm a purple belt myself, but I'm not going out, being 4-1 favorite over anyone like that Masimov was. Yeah, man, no, you looked really good. And let me ask you, when you put that on him, because I think I'm remembering the fight back that you kind of stayed patient for a few seconds before you started trying to finish the hold, right?
Yeah.
And was that because you wanted to just give him a chance to make a move and make a mistake, or what was your thought? Because when you locked that in, it looked good, but it looks like you were waiting for a second for something. What was that, may I ask?
Typically, from that position, a guy will start to fight the hands.
Right.
And he wasn't. So I was kind of like, is this dude going to defend this or not? And then when he didn't, I was like, all right, if he's just going to let me lock it up, then so be it. Like.
Absolutely. Why do you think that was? Was it a mistake on his part, or reaction time, or what? Why do you think he didn't start fighting the hands?
I don't know. I don't think. I don't know. I guess he just used to finishing all his takedowns. He hasn't spent a whole lot of time there.
Yeah, makes sense. Also, all respect to him, but it seems like everything had gone his way for so long, and at 24 years old, at that age, it seems like a lot of guys can get kind of cocky. Do you think it's possible that he was believing the odds and kind of said, "Oh, I'm going to wipe the floor with this New Jersey guy"?
Nah, I think he was trying to convince himself of that all week.
Right. You didn't get the feeling that he was overconfident, but that he was trying to be confident enough, huh?
No, I don't think he was overconfident at all.
Makes sense. But yeah, that looked good, and I didn't even realize. I knew it had the 4-1 odds for the fight, but for the submission, didn't realize that was 14-1. But I'm glad your friends and people made money. That's awesome. Are you a guy that looks at odds a lot? Do you think about gambling a lot, or not at all? Or what's your feeling about that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I bet for sure, probably more than but
I hear you.
Yeah. I bet on Jeremiah when Jeremiah fought Blood Diamond. I think I won I'm not gonna get into some numbers, but a lot of money off Jeremiah. I bet on my teammates. You know what I mean? Because I know how we stack up. We get rich off each other. You know what I mean? We're 15-0, so we've won a lot of money in the past year. I
love it. I'm glad to hear that. Tell me about some of your teammates there. If there's anyone people have heard of, or even if not, who are the people that help sharpen you with the iron sharpens iron?
Yeah. So. My main training partners are Joe Pfeiffer, who fights on the Contender Series July 26th. That's week 1.
Okay.
It'll be his second time on the Contender Series. And then my other training partners are Jeremiah, who fights Court McGee in that's Father's Day weekend in Texas.
Okay.
And then Manny Morales, he's a 2-0 pro. Probably be fighting again in July, and Sean Brady.
Nice. And is that Renzo Gracie Fili, or is there another name of the school?
Yeah, so it's Daniel Gracie's our coach. It's Renzo Gracie Fili, but Daniel has teamed up with a striking coach named John Marquez.
Okay.
And he has his own gym. We do all the striking at John's gym, and then all the grappling at Daniel's gym.
Very cool. And that's over there. Both are in Philly, or is one in Renzo's Jersey? And then the other one's Philly. Is that it?
So the Renzo Gracie headquarters is in New York, but Renzo Gracie Fili, they're both in Philly. They're both in Kensington.
Okay, very cool. And you being a New Jersey guy, is just an hour or two drive, or are you staying over in Philly now?
I'm 20 minutes from the gym.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Very, very cool. A lot of great fighters out of there. You know who I had on the other day from Philly was the female jiu-jitsu champ, Danielle Kelly. You know her?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, when I was an amateur, she's always been around.
Yeah, she's very cool. Yeah, she was telling me something that's got her salty, and I said, "Man, only people it seems like from Pennsylvania talk about getting salty." You know what I mean? And I was like, I know that saying because I've had friends from Pittsburgh and Harrisburg that are always saying that. But yeah, she was really cool. It's going to be cool to see her do her thing in MMA over at One. And then we also had Pat Sabatini on a few weeks before that. He trains in a different school than you guys, but I think it's nearby, right?
Yeah, Pat's with us. Pat trains with us at Daniels and John's. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, cool. Well, then that's a hell of a team, man, because you got you, Pat, Sean Brady, and all these other people. Sean Brady had that great match with Craig Jones over there in the submission only, and he did amazingly well. I know they weren't allowing leg locks, but it seems like it might not have mattered, or would it have mattered? Or what did you think of Sean's performance there with Craig Jones?
I mean, he got a win. That's most important. And, you know, especially like, you know, the number 2 guy in the world, like, that's huge. You know, that was huge for him and his name. As far as the match goes, like, look, like, he was in a winning position. He was in side control in a dominant position.
Yep.
Or half guard most of the match. I think it was more so on Craig to attempt some different things, you know, like he went after that arm press a few times, tried to elevate, like, all right, when that's not working, like, we got to work on something else. You know what I mean? So I think, you know, people's, the complaint from everyone else was that it was a boring match, but I think that was more so on Craig, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you're right, because he's the expert. You know, he's the guy training every day for grappling, and Sean isn't, with Sean training for MMA. So yeah, I agree. A big respect to Sean in that match. And man, yeah, you guys are killing it with your jiu-jitsu. Do you prefer to finish a fight with jiu-jitsu, or does it not matter to you?
Dude, anytime I can get out of the cage with a win, let alone a win with no damage, it's a good night. You know, I don't care what. I mean, submissions are nice, knockouts are nice. Yeah, they're all good, you know, but I don't care, you know, whatever's going to pay my bills and keep me healthy.
Absolutely, that makes sense. You are boasting right now. You're not boasting, but your record shows a 3-fight win streak in the UFC, all by finish. And that is very impressive. You fought some very tough guys, and it does seem like you're getting that reputation as a finisher. It's good to hear that it doesn't matter to you one way or the other. I know, though, that with judging sometimes being questionable all over the sport of MMA, because, you know, I'm an old-time boxing guy. I'm older than most of you UFC fighters, even a little bit older than the older UFC fighters. So I've been a guy that's been following combat sports for quite a while. And sometimes I notice that some of the judges are guys, ladies and women that may be 70 or 80 years old. Because I remember they were judging a boxing match when I was like 15 years old. And sometimes I'm just thinking to myself, I don't know what the heck they're doing in there. Not that age means you can't judge, but there obviously is a little bit of a problem with MMA judging. And it seems like every other UFC or even Bellator or One Championship or PFL, people are getting angry. And fans and fighters are saying, what the hell was that? How can that be? So obviously, if you don't have to face a decision, it's better for you. But it sounds like you're not absolutely trying to avoid that, or is that something that you're concerned about and you would like to avoid, or what?
Honestly, I just wouldn't know. I never gone the distance. I never needed the judges. My fights don't need judges.
Nice. I like that. So you just do finish, even though it's not something you're worried about. But obviously, I think you feel good about it because you don't have to be a victim of a bad decision.
Yeah, man. That's the point of fighting. You know, finish your opponent, whether it's put him unconscious or make him quit, one way or the other.
Absolutely. So you just fought 2.5 weeks ago, so I'm sure there's no talk of anything soon, or is there? I see a lot of guys who are basically, some of them on the air, telling Joe Rogan or DC or whoever they talk to that I'm ready to fight 2 weeks from now. I want to be on that card a month from now, whatever. Have you thrown that out there? Would you be open to that, or what's it looking like for your next fight?
Yeah, I'm open, and like, I've never said no. You know, every time they've called me, I think only once I said yes and it didn't happen anyway, but I always say yes. You know, they've never called me and I said no, so they know I'm always available. And I mean, I've said yes on 7 days notice, 2 weeks notice. So
I'm glad you mentioned that. So are you saying that 2 of your UFC fights have been short notice?
My first two fights. The first one was 2 weeks notice, and then the second one was 10 days notice.
Wow, that's crazy. So this last one was the only one with a full camp.
Yeah, this was my first fight with a full camp.
Absolutely. And so either way, it sounds like works for you. So what's your history, man? How did you get into MMA? Do you have a sports background in various different sports, or give me a little bit of like a backstory about how you went from being, let's say, a guy in high school 12 years ago to a pro UFC fighter with a 3-fight win streak?
My dad was a fighter. My dad wrestled at Penn State. My uncle wrestled at Central Connecticut. My dad had some boxing matches, and he ran a karate gym in Upper Darby. So I grew up wrestling, obviously. We did karate, which I hated. I had no patience for it. I was like the most rambunctious kid ever.
Right.
But a lot of times we would watch the UFC fights, or we would watch WEC. We would watch Uriah Faber and Jens Pulver. And that was kind of like my first introduction. I fell in love with it, but especially at a young age, the focus was always on wrestling. And then I wrestled Division I for 3 years, and then I did my last 2 years at Division II school. And then when wrestling was over, I started doing jiu-jitsu, and I fell in love with jiu-jitsu. I would do gi in the morning, no gi at night, like every day. And then after about 6 months of doing jiu-jitsu, there was a kid at my gym that had a fight coming up, and I was like, yo, man, like, how'd you get this fight? Like, how do I get one of those? And he was like, hey, message this guy and just tell him you want an MMA fight. And it was Jonathan Webb from the CFFC, who's actually one of my coaches now.
Cool.
And, he got me a fight. He's like, yeah, this is your opponent in 30 days. And I was like, all right, perfect. And I went out there with like no striking whatsoever, and I fell in love with it. I was like, it was one of the best experiences, and that's when I knew, like, this is what I want to do the rest of my life.
That's very cool. How many fights did you have for the CFFC?
I think I fought for them either twice or 3 times as an amateur, and then I ended up signing a contract with them when I was like 5-0 as a pro, and I ended up leaving for the Ultimate Fighter instead, and I ended up never fighting for them as a professional.
Gotcha. Because, yeah, a friend of mine, Jason Liederfein, is, I think, one of the executives and matchmaker or promoter, co-promoter over there. I don't know if you ever met Jason.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's a real good guy. And so, yeah, we respect the CFFC a lot of good talent out of there. And I think they're on UFC Fight Pass, but as an amateur, your fights wouldn't have aired on Fight Pass, I imagine.
Right, yeah. Mostly only the main card gets on Fight Pass.
Absolutely. So you're in the UFC, you're 3-0, all by finish. What do you want next? Are you looking for someone with a number next to their name, or someone right about ranked where you are, or what's your feeling? And I'm sure you want to progress pretty quickly.
Yeah, for sure. Start looking into that top 25 for sure. There's a lot of guys in that 25 to 15 range that we're looking at that excite me a lot, So we'll see what happens. There's a lot of fights in the next like 2-3 weeks that we're watching. And, that Singapore card is June 11th. So we'll see what happens.
Definitely. I won't keep you too much longer, but let me ask you a last few questions and we'll wrap it up. Did you have some people that you looked up to before you were in the world of MMA or before in the UFC? Were there any people whose styles you liked or you thought were similar, or just any people who you really respected as champions?
Yeah, I was actually just talking about this the other day. It was like when Matt Serra beat GSP, he was like the huge underdog.
Yep.
And he came out and shocked everyone and beat GSP. That was like a huge moment where I was like, hell yeah, those are the matches, those are the fights that I want to have. Like I want those big underdog where you come out and shock the world.
Absolutely.
So Matt's definitely one that I had my eyes on. Another big one, I always loved Vitor Belfort, the Phenom. I loved watching him fight. He was just such a specimen, and I love that.
Absolutely. Well, the middleweight division has a lot of action going on there. I'd like to get your opinion really quick here. before we let you go. So we got the champ, Israel Adesanya, other than going up in weight to light heavyweight. And in that fight, I think he gave away like 25 pounds on fight day to Jan Blachowicz. He still did well. But as a middleweight, he's killing it. You got Robert Whittaker up there looking good. You got Jared Cannonier, who's going to be next for Adesanya. Paulo Costa, I guess, still working on doing something. Marvin Vittori. Who do you feel out of those guys is the best? And which of those guys would excite you the most when the time comes for you to be fighting guys up at that level?
Personally, I just feel like Adesanya is so many miles ahead of these guys just because all of these guys try to strike with him. Like, obviously, Jan kind of wrote the blueprint on how to beat Adesanya. It was like, you wrestle him. He's not a wrestler. And I just don't think that at the top there's too many high-level wrestlers. I mean, the only guy that really wrestles is Brunson. And, you know, when I watch his fight with Adesanya, I'm not going to say he hasn't gotten better since that, but in the first fight with Adesanya, like, he wasn't setting up his shots at all. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like the one guy that did really well at middleweight against Adesanya was Kelvin Gastelum about 4 or 5 years ago. And
yeah,
it seemed like that was a really good strategy, and he was so close, man, to winning that fight. And I guess either he tired out or Adesanya just stepped it up. But it seems like the division right now, I think, is not so deep in that it's not like there's like 15 guys that the world and everyone has heard of. It seems like there's like 7 or 8 guys. And I think that puts you in a really good situation, because in reality, I feel like maybe off of 1 more win, I could see you in the top 20. Off of 2 more wins, I could see you in the top 15. And off of 3 more wins, I could see you in the top 10. Is that about what you're thinking maybe?
Yeah, I think the middleweight division is definitely open for the taking. It's just, I don't think it's that deep, personally.
Right.
I don't think there's many good wrestlers in the division. I think I've shown that I'm the best grappler in that division.
Yeah, I think so. And I don't think you're going to be 4-1 dog again for a long time. You know, I think right now you've proven yourself as a really exciting fighter, and man, that team is killing it. So just to remind everyone, if they just joined us, it's Renzo Gracie Fili, and then what's the other team called with a striking coach?
Marquez MMA.
Okay, and that includes you, Sean Brady, Pat Sabatini, and remind me a couple of the other guys.
Jeremiah Wells, he fights Court McGee on Father's Day weekend in Austin, and then Joe Pyfer fights on the Contender Series July 26th.
Absolutely. Last question. What do you like to do in your spare time? Are you a big fan of rock concerts? Are you a big fan of going, you know, ski boarding or water skiing? Or what does Andre Petrosky do in his spare time, and what are some of the things you really enjoy?
I mean, I love being outdoors. You know what I mean? I love, like, so my daughter's house. I love hanging out with my daughter, first of all. That's, like, top priority. We have a lot of fun together. But I just bought a Wrangler from Apollo pre-owned dealership in Sewell, New Jersey. So if you guys have a chance, check them out. Hook me up. They're the best. Made it super easy. But I love, like, off-roading. I love being on water. I love being outdoors. Like, that's the stuff. My daughter's house is literally on the water, so I have a jet ski on the water, and I mean, I'll find rope swings down inland a little bit. It's awesome. I love it over there.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds cool, man. Definitely people want to jump over there and get a deal. It sounds like a good place. What's the best social media address for people to follow you and support you on, Andre?
Yeah, I'm Andre Petrosky on Instagram, and then Petrosky Andre on Twitter.
Okay, and it looks like the video just faded out. If you could press that video button again at the bottom, we can then wrap it up. It would be good if we could see your face there, and because we lost you for a second. There we are. Awesome. Andre Petrosky, really appreciate you, man. Big respect to you. And like I said, to prove if you want, look at our back shows, man. I definitely believed in you and felt that that there's no reason why the odds were that big. And I want to thank you for proving me right. It's always good when media can look like we know what we're talking about, because I do take it really seriously, man. I grew up in Michigan, kind of Midwest and East. You're an East Coaster. Always love my East Coast friends. Huge respect to you. We'll be watching your career and following you. Love to talk to you again sometime down the line.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
You're very welcome. Have a great night.
Yeah.
Thanks. And that was Andre Petrovsky. Yeah, Adam, in that matchup, man, it was just like weird. It was one of these spots that I was really, really confident that the odds makers did not know what they were talking about. And I remember Andre was 2-0 in the UFC, and he had a really good record, and he was 30 years old, right in his prime for a middleweight, and they're making him 4-1 dog against a 24-year-old guy. And I remember thinking, what is it that they're seeing that I'm not seeing? It's almost like they were trying to say, well, this guy Andre is not really that good or something. And right, you know, and I was thinking, why are they seeing that when I'm not seeing that?
They don't always understand or get it, and there's usually like one contender that somebody beat like 4 years ago or something that it doesn't necessarily make sense. MMA math doesn't work out 90% of the time. So
right, because Andre got in there fired up with that East Coast confidence, and like he made short work of the 4-1 favorite. And
now let me ask you about this one. The fact that, and look at this on the screen. Do you see it? When I'm
yeah. So that's not as big a difference, but I do feel that there's very good value in the favorite there. It's Tuesday, so I still have to look more into it, but you know we always do on the MMA Power shout out our initial thoughts. We normally don't change them that much, if at all, and if we do, we announce them. But yeah, you want to start with that fight, or you want to start a little bit lower?
I just think that's an interesting one. I actually am for the dog on that one.
Are you? I mean, a lot of these.
So I'm talking about Askar Masarov against Alonzo Menafield.
Yeah,
Askar is about 1.5 underdog.
One dog. A lot of these guys, you know, from Russia. I know there's one guy with a Russian name who's actually an American on the card. I don't think that's him though. But a lot of these Russian guys are very tough. If you want to break open that fight, let's take a look here, because we're all familiar with Alonzo Menafield. But look at Askar, I think it's Masharov. Yeah, Masharov. No mercy, and he is out of Ukraine. That's right. He isn't the American. He's out of Ukraine. 27 years old. He's got a pretty good record but here's the thing. Not only has he got no UFC experience, he didn't compete in the Contender Series, and he hasn't competed in the LFA or CES. I don't think he even competed in CFFC. No, he didn't. So this is a guy coming out of mostly Europe.
Yeah, and you know,
but he's finishing everyone. He's finishing everyone. But then he got finished.
The most legitimate one that he probably had was in Titan FC,
and he lost.
And he lost via.
And then he got finished. And he got finished in. So you know, to me, he's really an X factor. Now, could he be tough? One thing for sure, fighting out of Ukraine, just like Marina Moroz did about 2 months ago. Right when the things were starting up, she fought with tremendous passion and won her fight. I picked that would happen, or I predicted that would happen. In this case, I really can't. Is it possible? Maybe. But to me, it's a really unproven guy from Ukraine against a guy who's pretty damn good with a ton of UFC experience. And so, in all honesty, my feeling...
about 4 years of fighting in the UFC versus none
versus zero. Yeah, so in my...
I get your point, but I also see him as an X factor here. He does have a ton of finishes underneath him, and I think he's a beast. I think he's going to come in, and this is a dog I'm going to put it in on, and it's not a huge...
No. Yeah, I mean, he's got the height advantage, but everyone has the height advantage over Menafield, except for William Knight, who Menafield was 2 inches taller than. But
I'm going to put my chips on red here. That's the kind of situation.
Yeah, exactly, right. It's, you got a 50-50 chance. Yeah, to me, that fight should be minus 250 or minus 240 or minus 260 Menafield. But if you want to start slightly lower, since we've got, 7 minutes till our next guest?
All the way at the bottom here.
Okay, so yeah, Blanchfield, let's do the girls. Erin Blanchfield, that's another weird one, right? Erin Blanchfield has been killing it. Really good fighter. I think she may be undefeated. She did win convincingly over Miranda Maverick, which was very surprising because Miranda is a really good fighter. And she's a really a tough girl. She's a pretty good size for a flyweight. 8-1, not undefeated, but 8-1. But she's on what, a 5-fight win streak?
Let's look here. I think see. Yeah, she. Yep.
5-fight win streak. Actually, or is it 6? 5. It's 5. Yeah. So, granted, on paper, she should beat JJ Aldrich, who used to be a strawweight, but JJ has been getting pretty comfortable at flyweight. She's on like a 3-fight win streak herself, isn't she? Or at least 2. Let's see. I think it's 3. Yeah, 3. So to me, why is this a 5-1 fight? I mean, I don't see it. In all honesty, should what do you call her? I don't even remember the other girl's name though. There it is.
Erin Blanchfield.
Should Erin Blanchfield win? Probably, but
yeah, I was just gonna say honestly, it's the decision over Miranda definitely helped. Yeah. The Sarah Alpar decision. I mean, those are a couple.
There's only 2 UFC. Really? Then there's a couple in Invicta. Yeah. Although Brogan Walker was good and Leonardo, but other than Miranda, she hasn't really been beating killers. To me, this should be maybe a 2.5-1 favorite for Blanchfield. And so, in all honesty,
I would agree with that. It might be a good one to go on the dog on this.
Yeah. I think JJ Aldrich has a fair chance. And if you can get plus 400, plus 450, plus 500 on her, take it. I'm not saying it's the best bet in the world to win, but I think it's an overlay. It should not be that high. The juice shouldn't be that high. And I think most commentators and analysts are saying the same thing. Next fight, I just don't know enough about the one guy.
Let's go this way and figure the fights on.
Stop about there. Stop about there. So, Tony Gravely. Tony Gravely, we've interviewed several times. Really good dude. Johnny Munoz Jr., that's a tough fight. I believe in Tony. I think he can do it. I think his wrestling is going to be a little bit too much, but that's going to be a war. Very, very good fight. I think the odds are very close in that fight. Tony, let's take a look and see where the odds are.
Yeah, they're real close.
Yeah. Tony's slight favorite, minus anywhere from 135 to 140. So close. I like the favorite in that one, Tony Gravely, but that's going to be a banger for sure. Munoz is no joke. And then if you want to stay with it from here, Jeff Molina El Jefe against Zalgas Zamugulov. I think they have this right as well. Molina about 2-1 favorite. Zamugulov really needs a win. He's going to be fighting really hard. But I think Jeff Molina is more talented, a guy, younger, higher ceiling. Not enough information to really talk about Benoit Saint Denis or Benoit Saint Denis against Stolze. O'Day Osborne, I think, is ripe to win that fight. Any comments that we want to react to or anything?
No, that's what I'm checking out. I believe that's Mark saying it. I'm not sure if it's Mark. Somebody saying, I bet my rent money on Nasruddin Imavov and Albert Duraev. They will eat their division. No disrespect here.
Hey, those are very good fighters. Those are very good fighters from Facebook user. I'm not sure who that is, but maybe Mark. Yeah, I don't think so. But then he goes, I think he trains in Moscow. I don't know who he means, but those two guys are tough. Agreed. Very much. Very tough guys. Let's go back to see the last, the main card. Or actually, we don't have time, do we? It's
no, we're gonna be hopping in a minute here, so
yeah.
With our
you want to do you want to check like the main event? We can do the main card after. We're gonna do like 7 or 8 minutes, 10 minutes after.
Yeah.
So let's jump.
All right, let's jump into our Skype dance.
Skype dance, baby.
Skype dance.
Hey, Raufeon, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Raufeon? There we go. Can you hear me, my friend? Raufeon, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me, Raufeon?
Hey, yeah, I can hear you.
Excellent. Okay. What do you say? I sound kind of loud or what?
Sound kind of far.
Okay, we'll see if my producer can do something. But in the meantime, we're going to give you a proper introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, super happy to have this next guest back on the show for the first time as the interim bantamweight champion of the Bellator Fighting Championship, the man they call Super, Raufeon Stots. Welcome back to the show, champ.
Hey, man. Thanks. Nice to be back.
I really appreciate you, man. And, you know, we've believed in you for a long time, as you know. I think we first had you on the show in like mid-2019 or something like that, I think it was. And, you know, always believed in you, and you came up and up and up and now up there at the top. What an amazing fight that was against Juan Archuleta. That was a very close fight as far as the odds, and you looked really good in there. Tell me, what was your mindset going into that fight before the fight night? What was going on in your head that night before the fight started? And then what were you feeling after that bell rang?
So right before the fight, I feel like having a good time, you know, just thinking about being dominant, kind of thinking about going out and, you know, having fun, putting it all on the line. And then, you know, and also, you know, just being comfortable and ready kind of wherever the fight goes. So like, I'm okay. And I'm confident kind of wherever, you know, wherever he can take me in the fight. You know, if he gets me tired and makes me uncomfortable, I'm comfortable there. If he, you know, he hits me or hurts me, I'm comfortable, you know, so, that's kind of what's going through my mind. Just, you know, being in the moment, being present and being comfortable kind of everywhere. And as I when I won, you know, I was almost like having too much fun, you know, with the fight and, you know, being focused and being present in the moment that I almost forgot, I forgot that the belt was on the line, you know, for the fight. So, I was kind of shocked, you know, that like, oh yeah, I get to, like, not only do I get to fight, you know, and win this fight, but I get to be a world champion after that. So I was just super excited.
That's awesome. And that's an amazing attitude to be that relaxed and upbeat. Is that something that came natural to you, or did that come from maturity? Was that always how you felt before fights, or did it take a while to be able to have that level of comfort and being able to go out there and have fun and not be stressed out?
Yeah, I think it's a level of maturity that I've gained, you know, through practices and fighting. You know, I'm at a point where I'm well prepared for a fight, you know, and I always have like great training camps and great training tactics that I feel like always kind of work out during the fight. So yeah, it came from maturity and just kind of the level of where I'm at in the game.
Absolutely. And that fight ended, was that in the second round, or sorry, I'm forgetting?
It was the beginning of the third round.
Okay, so that was a good fight. Now, what were you feeling about how that fight was going? Was everything going 100% the way you wanted to? Were there some things not going good? How did Archuleta feel in there? And were there ever any positions that you felt that he was, you know, kind of catching up or winning it all?
Yeah, so his game plan was a lot different than I thought it was. I thought he would come out and, you know, kind of use his movement and score on points and exchanges, and then kind of exit, you know, and use his movement and kind of stay away from my wrestling. But he did the opposite. He after the exchanges, he would then engage in wrestling and try to take me down, you know, which I feel like the first round he took me down and controlled position for a little while, and then I took him down at the end of the round, and then the second round he wasn't able to take me down, but he kind of controlled position. So in my head, he was up 2 rounds, and I couldn't give him anything going forward in the fight. So he definitely surprised me. Going for the wrestling, it was something I had to pretty much adjust to, kind of on the fly, you know. Once we figured out, you know, that's his game plan, you know. Luckily, I'm very good as a grappler and a wrestler, so he wasn't able to really do damage or even hold me there for extended periods of time. But yeah, so I definitely had to adjust to a different game plan. But that comes back to, you know, I'm comfortable, you know, wherever the fight goes. So kind of whatever he throws at me, I'm ready for.
Very cool. Who do you feel presented the greater challenge? Archuleta or the previous fighter? I think Magomed something. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his whole name, but the Russian guy who you would beat.
It's two Magomeds. Magomedov.
Right. I'll remember that now. And that fight went the distance, but even though one ended in the third and one went the distance, who do you feel was presenting you with a harder challenge of the two?
I felt like going into the fight, Magomed was the tougher of the two. And I still kind of feel that way. I feel like, Magomed, the only thing that was like, kind of easy about him was like game plan. You know what he's going to do. He's very good at grappling, very good at those, techniques. So I had to be very good at not, being there in a lot of situations or attacking a lot of situations, grappling situations. But I pretty much knew where he wanted to be. Whereas Archuleta, I thought I knew where he wanted to be, but he's well-rounded enough that he was able to kind of create other situations where that kind of put me at risk of losing the fight. But at the same time, I don't feel like those positions where he put me in were ever like dangerous enough to like either hurt me or like leave me helpless. I felt more of a danger for Magomed because I thought his wrestling or his grappling would be better than mine. And I was pleasantly surprised to find out it wasn't. But I feel like going into the fight, I definitely thought Magomed was the tougher of the two. But then after the fight, I feel like Juan Archuleta won. He won 2 rounds against me, and then Magomedov didn't. So
makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So now we know styles make fights, and that's your reaction about those two fighters going against you. Curious, what if they went up against each other? How would that fight play out, do you feel?
Man, I think Magomedov would win, I think Magomedov is a tougher of the. I feel like I think he's the tougher of the two. I think he has, even though he's a bit like he's well rounded, but he's just I think his grappling is a lot better than Juan Archuleta's once he gets to the ground. The wrestling, and actually no, I feel like I was able to get Juan Archuleta down when I decided to engage in the wrestling. So I think Juan or Magomed would pose a big problem for Archuleta.
Makes sense, and that's a fight that we could be seeing. And then I think, I know that your next fight is going to be your teammate Sergio Perez. Has that been signed as of yet?
So as of now, I'm still in the Bantamweight Grand Prix tournament. So that was the first round of the Grand Prix tournament. The next round, so I just finished the quarterfinals, and then the semifinals of this tournament is going to be the winner of Leandro Higo or Danny Sabatello. So I have to fight one of those two guys. Whoever wins, I fight the winner of that fight, and they're fighting June 24th. So I'll be fighting the winner of them around like September, October. I probably won't fight Sergio until after this tournament is over. So I got the semifinals, then I got the finals of this tournament, and then I have, and then I'm guessing after the tournament is over, because also Sergio Perez, he tore his ACL, so that's why he's not in the tournament now. Because I was supposed to fight him first round,
right?
But he tore his ACL, so they're guessing it's gonna put him out for like a year and a half, or something. So I'll probably fight him after this whole tournament deal is done.
That makes sense. If you had to narrow it down to 3 guys that you think could be going up against you in the finals, who would they be? And then if you could rank them from 1 to 3 as far as which who you think are the more likely to be facing you in the final for everything.
So I think on that other side of the bracket, I would say Patchy Mix, Magomedov, and then Barzola. And I would rate them I would probably rate them Magomedov, Barzola, then Patchy Mix.
Okay, and I was thinking when I kind of hesitated about a minute ago, saying I think, and then I corrected myself and jumped into Sergio Perez. I was just thinking about Patchy Mix. I think he may have at one point been a featherweight for some reason I kind of threw it out of my head because I didn't want to misspeak. But I was right. He is in the mix there at Bantamweight. He's an interesting guy in a way. To me, similarly diverse like you, as far as that, I think he's got skills in all the different combat arts. But tell me, what do you think is similar and what do you think is different about Patchy Mix compared to you?
I would say, as far as his striking, he just doesn't use his striking like he could. I feel like he toughs his way into a lot of situations when it comes to like striking and wrestling. But his grappling is like really good, and his length is really, it's really amazing, He also surprises me, He shows up, in big fights. He just beat one of the toughest guys in the tournament, Kyoji Horiguchi.
Right.
So, and that was a fight I didn't expect him to win, but with his length and his skill, he was able to dominate, I feel, Horiguchi, so, we are, alike in a lot of the ways. I just feel, I'm just a bit more well-rounded than him, but he, he's a dog, like he said, and, he's really good.
Absolutely, and I think like you and him together could be a very exciting fight. I mean, like I don't think there's any way that would be a dull fight, because you guys both know how to throw down in all different aspects. But you're right, Barzola is very tough, and then Magomedov. So those three, and then in order of what you predicted would be Magomedov first, Barzola, and then Mix. And then if it was Magomedov, that would be the third fight between you two because he won one of them, or am I wrong? I think I'm right?
That would be the second fight between. We've only fought once, so that'll be our second fight.
Okay, that's right. Your only one loss, I think, was against Merab Dvalishvili, right?
Yep.
That's right.
Merab Dvalishvili. Yeah.
That's right, and that's a tough guy as well. Let me ask you, because I know we only got 5 minutes left. We were speaking, I think, in the last interview. It was a couple weeks, I think, before you fought, but then it was also, I think, the week where they were going to have that big UFC, and we were talking about Peter Yan against Aljamain, and we both agreed that Peter Yan being like a 2.5 to 1 favorite didn't even make any sense. All the people that were saying Aljo didn't have a chance, and me and you were both on Aljo, and we called that right. It was close. People may be angry, but it was real close, and Aljamain, I think, looked really good. So we called that right, and then I hope you made some money on that. I made only a very small amount because I didn't, right. And then also we both believe that Gilbert Burns had a real good chance against Hamzat. I kind of feel Burns won. It was really close. Did you? Yeah. What did you feel?
Yeah, I feel like it was really close. I would give it to Hamzat just because of the forward pressure and pressing the action type of thing. Yeah. But I definitely, I definitely wouldn't have been mad if they would have, or I wouldn't have been taken aback if Gilbert had won that fight. I thought he had a lot of good moments in that fight, and fight finishing moments, and it was an amazing fight,
Yep.
I was surprised, people were so, just thought, because also we went and looked back at the first fight, the first fight wasn't, as much of a blowout as people are saying, before the knee, I feel like it was kind of competitive. And then also like going into second fights, once you know kind of where your weaknesses and strengths lie against another person, your strategy kind of changes, and I feel like he's a smart fighter. So.
Yep, exactly. I agree, and like, you know, we both knew both those fights would be close, even though the odds makers thought they would be blowouts, and they were not blowouts. And Aljo retained, and then Gilbert Burns won his. Almost won, but definitely didn't fight like a 3-1 dog. He was right in there. So then over the UFC bantamweight, you know, division, you've got Aljo, Peter Yan is still there. You got, who do you got? You got I
think CJ Dillashaw, Jose Aldo.
Right. Man, I think you would. Yeah, sorry, who were you gonna say?
Corey Sandhagen.
Yeah, that's right. These are all some tough guys, man. I think you would be able to do well against all of these guys, man. I wish one day they could just jump throw everyone together and you know, have some matchups, man, because I'm sure you do well against some of these guys. And you know, just like your teammate Sergio, he was over there and did very well in the UFC, and so you know, you got a feel of what he has. So I'm sure you know you could do well against those guys there, and it's you know maybe one day, but in the meantime, you've got a lot of unfinished business, and it's going to be great to watch you win the tournament, and then maybe sometime next year against Sergio. Are there any fights anywhere, including boxing, including Bellator, UFC, PFL, One Championship, any fights that you're looking most forward to other than your fights over the next several weeks, including any teammates or anything that you have over at Rufus Sport?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to obviously the fight, you know, Sabatello and Danny Sabatello and Leandro Higo, because I fight the winner.
Yep.
Then I'm also looking forward to fight Adrian Yanez is fighting Tony Kelly here in Austin, Texas. So I'm excited to see Adrian get a dub here in Texas. Who else? They got some Fury fights going on. So I got a couple teammates fighting: Kevin Smotherman, Mike Aswell, and why am I blanking on his name? But yeah, some Fury fights going on. Kevin. But yeah, so who else am I looking for? I just seen Neil Magny is fighting another undefeated welterweight.
Yeah, I forget who has Neil. Someone good has Magny. I forget, but that's going to be a real good fight.
Yeah. I feel like that's going to be a good fight too.
Question for you: Does Adrian Yanez train with you guys over at Rufus Sport, or is he somewhere else?
Oh, so I'm actually in Houston, Texas now. I moved to Houston, Texas a little bit before the Magomed fight.
Oh wow! What team are you training with?
Team Metro. So I train with Adrian. Gotcha.
Question for you, real quick, man. I had hit up Adrian about a month ago to come on the show, and he went, "Yeah, man, I'm down. Let me know." And then I hit him up and said, "Can we get you next week?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm cool. Just hit me up as far as the scheduling." And then I hit him up. He never got back to me. So I'm not gonna. What's that?
Who would you hit up?
Adrian Yanez. We had communicated.
Oh,
yeah, we had communicated on his Instagram, and he goes, "Yeah, man, I'm down for the show. When is good?" And I told him when is good, and he was like, "Let me check it out." And then he never got back to me. So if you see him in passing, maybe you could mention that that we have a good rapport and that our show is legit. We'd be happy to talk to him, man. If he could follow up with me on his Instagram, man, we'd have to get him in.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll do it. He's pretty, I'm sure he just like. It slipped his mind or something.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'd be down to do it.
I appreciate it because, he mentioned he's got a lot of Instagram matches. By the way, I just found out who Magny is fighting. He's fighting the very, very tough Shavkat Rakhmonov.
Oh, yeah, that's who Neil Magny
15-0, and this guy's 15-0. He's out of he's out of Kazakhstan. He's out of Kazakhstan, and a lot of people picking him to be the killer. So
I think he's got all finishes too. In the all 15 of his wins.
Something like that, yeah. So he's a killer, man. But anyway, hey, I know we promised you a time, and I think we're 2 minutes over, so I apologize for that. Raufeon Stots, man, huge respect to you. Congratulations on being the interim Bellator Bantamweight champion, man. You're just one of the best fighters out there and a great guy. I want to thank you so much, man, for taking the time to jump back with us here on the MMA Power Hour.
No problem, man. Always a pleasure.
Thanks so much. Have a great night.
You too.
Thanks. And that was Raufeon Stots. Really, really good man. Amazing fighter. Great attitude. And I think, Adam, like he said, a lot of the fighters that get to the point where they're relaxed in there and they're having fun. He was having so much fun, he didn't even remember that this was for the interim Bellator Bantamweight champion of the ship of the world. That's amazing that he was that relaxed, that he actually forgot that he was fighting for the belt. And I think that's amazing. You know what I mean? I mean, that's about as relaxed as you can get, isn't it?
I mean, I do know what that's like, not for belt, but for a championship level, and you start doing that. Once you get into the ring, the cage, on the mat, it doesn't matter anymore. You lose sight of the idea real fast that there's anything on the line other than the winning or losing.
Yeah.
You go off the vibe going into it, definitely. You get kind of really pumped up. You're like, man, this is a big deal. And you get in there, you start moving, and like almost instantly, the second you get in there, it's just, I'm going to win. And you don't have an adrenaline dump. You actually have an adrenaline escalation throughout the situation. It actually works out to your advantage if you're a person that's experienced in the controlling the adrenaline.
Just the maturity and
it is the maturity. There are people that say that heightened adrenaline going into a bout or a matchup of any kind in athletics is actually really bad for you. There are other people that argue the other side. Look at Mike Tyson and you know how they were talking about how he would get some of the fangirls and actually have them in his locker room beforehand. He talked about it,
right?
You know, and he did that to heighten his mojo, which is just adrenaline, right?
Right.
So
right.
There's some people that actually learn to harness that, and the highest level athletes, I think, generally do that. But you know, it's really cool. Listen, you and I were talking about it before the show. Raufeon's been on our show probably the most out of any guest we've had. I think with this appearance, it made him officially the most frequent guest that we've had to date. I do know that before this, it was probably tied with like 8 different people.
Yeah, a lot of people that have been
I think he finally hit that, and you know, it's so cool. It's a champion.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, we basically believed in him starting 3.5 years ago.
Man, we picked so many champions. There's just no denying Colin. This show, we're probably the best at picking the guys on the come up.
Yeah, without a doubt, and it's always good too that people believe in us and respect us for having been, you know, with them and wanting to talk to them when not a lot of people knew who they were, and then they have that loyalty to let us know, hey,
nobody can call you a casual fan, Colin.
No.
They get away with calling me that, but not you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I know well enough. I'm a non-casual in the fact that, you know, I have fought, and never in the UFC, but I have fought.
Yeah, without a doubt, you know your stuff.
You know, wrestled, taekwondo.
That's it. You are a mixed martial artist, you know, just like I am. You know, and so, you know, yeah, we both have a lot of appreciation, and we just have a great teamwork, a great team effort to get some of the better fighters on here and catch them when they're on their way up. You know, we always want to try to bring people as well known as possible in here for you people that are watching. So we're not necessarily grabbing people before they get into the UFC or Bellator or PFL or one championship.
Unless we know there's a high chance of them becoming
right.
You know, Justin Gaethje being one that we were seeking out for quite a while beforehand. And, you know, there's just Jordan Young, God bless his soul, you know, on the come up and really about to go do some amazing things.
He was,
you know, amongst many others. We really look for the diamonds in the roughs, and if we do have somebody in here that you've never heard of, I highly recommend tune in, because they're probably on the come up, and they're gonna be somebody at some point. We're actually good at that, especially Colin.
Thank you.
Let's just go over the main
card,
the main event, and maybe a couple other fights.
Okay,
yeah, but
maybe the three
also
fights.
Before we get into that, somebody was asking earlier, Chris Barth, it says Chris Barth fitness journey. What do you guys think of some of the bad judging recently? That's a great sentiment that was kind of brought up in the last conversation without being brought up. I personally feel that a majority of the judging has actually been pretty spot on. we're getting into the discussion of damage versus control time, and really factoring that in. It also depends on who's ringside. And I don't necessarily consider it bad judging with that when it comes down to decisions. And if that's what you're considering, there's so many fights that have been so close that it really just comes down to who is going more towards the ring control or cage control, or the
damage done,
or
striking
the damage
versus,
done,
and then striking versus grappling, you know, and because everyone seems to have their own bias, and you know, with the 10-point must scoring system, which is essentially from boxing, but the best we can find, I guess now, it's so hard to know. I remember years ago, kickboxing was using a half a point criteria as well, so it made it a little bit easier because someone could actually win a fight 29 and a half to 29, or you know, something like that.
Right, that would be interesting if they threw that in. I think that might help.
Yeah, it really could, but you know, there still is some bad judging out there. I guess it's not getting any worse. How much better it's getting, I don't know, maybe a little bit. But
I think it's getting better, Colin, and I think that's the problem for people, is it's starting to become better judging, and it's becoming much more technical with the fighters, who are also getting much better. This is becoming such a refined sport. Yeah. This has grown so much even in the last 5 years since we started doing this, since 11 seasons or 10 seasons ago.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
This is a very refined sport. It is to the point and to the extent where it's either going to take over the NFL or it's not. I think it is. I think we've got another 5 years before we get to that NFL status. But it's real close, really close. I think if the UFC, I would say in the next 5 years, UFC is going to do away with pay-per-views.
That would be great. That would sure save a lot of people a lot of money, and we definitely need it with gas prices and food prices being what they are now, which is a disaster.
There's ways to do it, and I think they will.
I hope so.
It's going to be a while, but also the world is changing. It's changing drastically.
Yep.
And real quick, before we go into any fights, just want to say, make sure you all check out Lith Token. It's lithtoken.io, LITH, token.io. Head on over there, hit up the Telegram and all the socials associated with Lith Token. We're doing some cool things over there with physical NFTs, and when I say we, that is Lith Token. We will be doing some things with MMA Power Hour, and me saying we and Lith Token. I am the blockchain architect. Also, make sure to hit up crosstrainmmafighter.com, get yourself a t-shirt. Colin and I, our companies have been supporting this show for the entirety of it, and you know, we've had a few extra sponsors in, and one of the bigger ones being Nessa's Hemp. Make sure to check out Nessa's Hemp. Not an official sponsor at this point, but they don't need to be. Still doing some amazing things to help us out, and we're very gracious for everything that they do. It's the best CBDA product out there, and I would say the only true CBDA product that actually works. I mean, it's life-changing.
Yeah, absolutely. In all honesty and respect, it is. Now, I always would say when he would bring that in as the start, in respect and fun with my Canadian friends, including Hannibal, if you're watching, it's for everyone else CBDA, but if you're Canadian, CBDA. Right, you got to say A if you're Canadian, as you know, at the end. Let's jump on over to
the main.
Enough hijinks for now.
Yeah.
All right, so we know that fight's gonna be great. So let's go maybe 3 fights, 3 or 4. Let's do.
Let's stick
3.
to 2 on. Oh, 3. Okay.
Yeah. So the one in yellow, the one by the top, and then the 2 below that. So starting the 2 below that. So we got Michael Trizano, the Lone Wolf. Go down slightly because that advertisement is blocking me from seeing much. It doesn't matter. All right, Michael Trizano against Lucas Almeida. We had Michael on. He's a great fighter. It's been a couple years. We'll look to have him on again. Lucas Almeida is a Brazilian, 13-1, and I believe he's making his UFC debut. Let's take a look and see. Yes, once again. And this is weird, you normally don't lose your way into the UFC by losing in the Contender Series. But that's what our friend has done here. Not our friend, but he seems like a good guy. Lucas Almeida, he lost in the Contender Series, went back to where he was fighting in Jungle Fight, and is in this fight on extremely short notice. Michael
That's
Trezano,
out.
the lone wolf, was going to fight someone else. Lone wolf, Michael Trezano, very tough guy. 2-2 in the UFC, or is he 3-2? I think if you want to go down a little bit more, I think he's 3-2, or is he 2-2? 3-2. And his last fight was a tough loss and a good fight, though, against Hakeem Dawodu, who is a great fighter. I think this is all Michael Trezano, the lone wolf here. He's a great fighter, a lot of talent. Yeah, and I think this is without a doubt. And I think you're not having to lay too much chalk on this fight. Funny enough, I thought it should be minus 300 or something, but instead it is minus 200. Well, anywhere from minus 240 to minus 260. I still think there's value in that. Now, there's not a lot of money to win. You got to bet 240 to win 100, but I think he should be an even bigger favorite. I think he's a great parlay piece, Michael Trezano, with confidence. Oh, that next fight is killer. Movsar Evelev, 15-0. The man from Russia. Wow, but look at his last few fights. Decision after decision after decision.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's not really
Always
a
decisions.
big
And
finisher.
he barely got by Nick Lentz. And Nick Lentz is tough, but he's really not what he used to be.
Not a single finish in the UFC.
Right, and Dawodu, that was a very close fight as well. So in the last couple fights for our man Evelev, he is barely eking out victory, but he's beating tough guys. Dan Ige, the very tough Hawaiian, 50K. He has fought the better competition. He lost to our friend Josh Emmett in a tough fight. He lost to the Korean Zombie in a very tough fight. He beat Galvin Tucker. He got short notice against Calvin Cater. He did lose somewhat convincingly, but was in that fight. It was a war. And then he beat Edson Barbosa, Mirsad Bektik, Kevin Aguilar. In all honesty, this should be, to me, an even fight. And they're making Ige like a 3-1 dog.
I'm actually going in on Ige on this one, and I would put him as a slight favorite.
Yeah, I don't know what do they have? It's like 4-1, 3-1, 4-1. Look at that. That's stupid.
It is stupid.
This is to me. This is like
this is the bet for this.
Yeah,
week.
this is the
100%.
overlay. This to me is like the Andre Petrovsky Nick Maximov fight, where they made Maximov like minus 450 and Andre plus 310 or something. They're doing it again here. I think Dan Ige is live.
The levels. There's levels to this game.
There is, and Evelev is jumping up a level. And
he's jumping up 2 levels.
Yeah, and for them to feel like Ige should be a 3.5, 4-1 dog, I just don't see it. Now, could Evelev win this fight? He's a very talented fighter at 15-0, but sometimes I think that gets too much hype, and it shouldn't.
I have a feeling this one's going the distance, just because neither of these guys
at
really,
featherweight, most fights, a lot of fights.
Yeah. But these neither one of them is really even a finisher in comparison to other featherweights.
Right, Josh Emmett, our friend, finishes fights at featherweight.
Right,
a lot of guys don't. But yeah, this is gonna be a great fight. Ige is in this fight for sure. He's a live underdog. Make some money. You have a very good chance. And then the main. And then
I'm going for a distance on this one with Danny Ige.
There we go, or Ige by decision. But you're already getting the big odds to go Ige straight. But you can mix it up however you want.
I mean, just double it up because I'm pretty confident in it.
Yeah, or you know what you could do, like Dr. Adam Roorda might have just been implying, you can make a bet on Ige, but then you could just make a bet that fight goes to the decision. And that way you don't even have to pick who wins. That's another prop bet you could do. That might have been what you were implying.
No, I'm doubling down.
You're going to do Ige by decision as well as Ige straight. Yeah, very possible. And then the main event is the big man, Alexander Volkov, the Russian, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, the man from Suriname. Slight favorite is the Russian right now, coming off a bad loss against Tom Aspinall, who took him down and armbarred him. To me, I think that Volkov probably didn't think that Aspinall, being a Brit, not growing up in the American collegiate wrestling system, I feel almost like Volkov wasn't expecting Aspinall's wrestling to be that good. And then once he's on his back, that's not his forte. At 33, look at how many fights he has compared to Rozenstruik. He's got almost 3 times the fights, 44 fights, I think it is, for Volkov.
44 against
and
15.
15 fights for Biggie Boy.
Almost exactly.
Biggie Boy, when he was facing guys that were not really well known, me and you were all over him. We picked Biggie Boy in his first fight, his second fight, his third fight, his fourth fight. Then he started to kind of jump up a little bit in class. and we knew that to jump from, well, Arlovsky he caught, and he caught him quick and finished him over him, 5th round after getting picked apart for almost five full rounds. He caught and finished over him. Francis Ngannou, he just got backed up and finished quick. I think that caught him by surprise, but
yeah, and I still picked him for that one. I got that one wrong.
Yeah, I think that one was tough. I might have been on the fence.
That was one you got wrong too.
I think you could be right. Dos Santos, he finished. Cyril Gane kind of made him look silly, but Gane's known to do that to a lot of fighters. Mm-hmm. He came back and beat. So he's been winning one, losing one, winning one, losing one. He just lost to Curtis Blades, who was on our show 2 weeks ago. Or last week even, I think last week. And there's no shame in that. But this is a fight he needs. And Alexander Volkov, too, they're both 33 years old, but one's been in the game for like 15 years with 44 fights in the person of Alexander Volkov. The other one's been in the game for like maybe 6 years, 7 years with 15 fights. So a lot less wear and tear on Jairzinho, Biggie Boy Rosenstruik, but much more experience on the part of the Russian Alexander Volkan. He's 6'7", Volkov. He's 6'7" or even 6'8", some people say. Biggie Boy is listed now as 6'2". They used to have him as 6'5", which he wasn't. I think he's even a little shorter than 6'2". I got him about 6'1". So there's going to be a big height difference here. Rosenstruik is going to probably hope that he can do what Derek Lewis did. Maybe he's going to get picked apart for 3 rounds or even 4, and then finally catch up with Drago and knock him out. Very possible.
Very possible, but I'm going to be real. I think the odds are way too close on this one. I think Volkov should almost... I think they mixed up the odds. Vegas went and screwed up between the Ige fight. And
Right. So you're kind of feeling Volkov should be 3-1. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Adam. A part of me agrees with you, but a part of me feels like maybe we're looking at Volkov like we looked at him before his last 2 or 3 losses when he was on a streak. That Alexander Volkov, who was 30 years old instead of 33 and only had 36 fights instead of 44 fights, I think for sure. Now you almost wonder, but I do think he should be favored, probably a little bit bigger than this. It's always scary. The guys like Derek Lewis, the guys like Rosenstruik, and Francis obviously is more talented than both, but the guys with that much power in their fists are always scary, especially in a 5-round fight. I do think Volkov probably will be skillful and crafty enough here to keep piling up the points and then avoid being knocked out. Jairzinho's been scheduled for 5 a couple times. He went 5 once and was almost 5 full rounds again another time. I think Volkov's done it several times. It's going to be interesting to see. Both guys are not nearly ranked as high as they used to be. I think Volkov at his highest was like number 4 maybe, and I think now he's 8 or 9. Mm-hmm. Biggie Boy Rosenstruik at his highest I think might have been 10 or 9, and I think
he was 8.
I think he might have been 8, and now I think he's got to be maybe like 12 or 13 or so this is a really important fight for both of these 33-year-old fighters. And
there's one thing that I can tell you: this is not going the distance.
I would think probably not. Although Volkov,
there's only one way it's doing it, is if this goes to extremely boring, and I just don't see that with Volkov.
I hope not, but you know what Volkov could do is use his height and reach and just kind of stay outside and pepper him with jabs the whole fight, and maybe throw a few kicks. I mean, that could happen.
Yeah, but Rosenstruik's a lot more aggressive than that.
And not only that, I think Rosenstruik's got to know that there's a lot on the line here. You know what I mean? In all honesty, I don't know that the loser gets cut from the UFC. I don't think so, in light of the fact that the heavyweight division is not that deep now. But the loser is probably going to be 15th ranked.
They're not going to get cut. They're not going to get cut.
No, but they're going to drop. They're going to drop out of relevance to an extent.
Oh, yeah.
you know, and neither of them wants that at 33 years old. Not that that's
and neither one of them wants to become a gatekeeper making
right.
20,000 a fight. So
right, exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
There is that 100%.
Yeah.
So Colin, you know, it's been another amazing show. We have a couple comments here. A lot of people praising us for a good show. Great, love it. Good stuff. Cool. Peter Zobel saying more girl interviews, please. We love having our women MMA fighters,
absolutely,
and combat sports athletes on. We are always reaching out, and we try to bring you the most relevant fighters out there, and that's the way we try to keep it, and we're going to. And women or men, doesn't really matter. We're going to bring them on, so we're going to definitely be bringing you a lot more female fight interviews.
Absolutely. And we have a ton in our archives.
They're never going to stop, and we have a ton in our archives you can hit up. So everybody watching on the Hannibal TV, make sure to hit us up at MMA Power Hour on our social media. Likes, comments, shares, give us all the love. Join our Facebook group, actually. Help share news. We're becoming more informal with everything aside from the video. So really hit up our Facebook group, MMA Power Hour. And if you're anywhere on all of our social media checking us out right now or watching a replay, make sure to go on over to the Hannibal TV or Great North Wrestling. Just Google either one of those, and you'll be able to find us there.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't hear anyone saying "Google me, bitch" anymore, but they were saying that
Google
for a
me,
while.
Bitch. I just said it.
There we go. If you're not even, you got to find out where to find us. Just Google me, bitch. No. Anyway, seriously, we really appreciate you so much, Dr. Adam Roorda. I think, are you tapping out for this episode? The doc is tapping out. We appreciate you so much, what you do. Great being a partner in this with you for 5.5 years, and hopefully another 5.5 or more to come. And we're going to keep on rocking. I may see if we can get a 2 or 3 woman MMA fighter guest episode coming up. We've done a few of those in the past, and so we're going to look out for you, Peter, and absolutely love and super respect our women MMA fighters, and you know, as we do our male MMA fighters. That's about it. I want to thank our first guest. Go in order of appearance. I want to thank our first guest, who was Andre Petrovsky. Thank you so much, brother. Really appreciate you coming on. Big respect to you. And our second guest, the champ, Raufeon Stots, Interim Bellator Bantamweight champion. Thank you so much, brother. Huge respect for you. So happy to see you succeeding as we knew you would. That's about it. Go out and spread the love in a positive way. Be that guy, be that girl. Let someone know you got their back. These are hard times for a lot of people, including me, everyone out there. And, you know, an encouraging word from a friend and some love would mean a lot to a lot of people. Love yourself, treat yourself good, take good care of your pets. They deserve it. That's about it for the entire team of the MMA Power Hour. I am Colin Crandall, as then I always say at the end. For tonight, I'm tapping out.